Edinburgh looked at the sort of whole sort of pre-application process. This morning what I want to do is just focus on one particular element of it that we have developed within West Dunbartonshire Council. So I work in quite a small team with a small local authority, and there's 4 of us plus a team leader. And recently we've had quite a few large-scale brownfield sites that have came up for development, and so we've had to sort of try and think of ways in which we can engage with the developers and engage with our expertise to try and sort of get the best out of the process and ultimately get a timeless decision. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to you about something that we've sort of started to develop and talk about it in relation to a specific site that I've dealt with. So what we developed was a sort of stakeholders event that was held at the pre-application stage, and this is really for complex major developments. Not all major developments that come into us will go through this process, but really it was the type of projects where it wasn't possible just to engage individually with the statutory and non-statutory consultees. We really needed a sort of round-the-table discussion. So it's a service that we offer to developers, and when sites are coming forward at first, we'll have a discussion internally and think, is this suitable for this type of process? And if we think it is, we'll then say to developers, we can facilitate this for you. We've had a few now, and I have to say the developers have been really positive about it. So it involves the statutory and non-statutory consultees, and it's facilitated by the planning officer, so in this case it was myself. So I've got a big site in Queen's Quay, Clydebank. Have any of you visited Clydebank recently? It's well worth a visit. There's been quite a lot happening down by the river. After years and years of the shipbuilding industries being a barrier to the river, that's all been cleared now, and so development is starting to happen down there, and we've the new Clydebank College has moved down there. We've also got our council offices down there as well. So we can just sort of delineate the site. So roughly that is the site there, and it covers about 24 hectares. So the site has quite a lot of technical challenges. There's obviously contamination on the site due to its shipbuilding past. There's flood risk. It's right on the boundary with the Inner Clyde Special Protection Area. There's archaeology within the site. There's also, because of the size of the site, there's an issue about road networks and junctions, and we've got some very sort of high green network aspirations for the site as well. So all these things sort of coming together, we thought we need an approach that sort of deals with that all at one time. So what we decided to do was to make a list of all the statutory and the non-statutory consultees that we wanted to inform, and I sent out an email to them all and said, we're going to be having this event on this certain day, and can you please keep that date, and can you designate someone who would be able to attend on that day. Once I got them back and we looked at who's on the guest list, we then started to group the issues together, and from that we defined what we call 3 focus groups. We then emailed back to the consultees and said, we want you to come on this day at this time, and we want you to be prepared to discuss the issues that you might want to raise about this site. So the event itself, we had 3 focus groups. We kept quite strictly to the time. We gave an hour in which to do it. We had all the consultees for each group all around the table. I facilitated, the developer was there, and their agent was there as well, the consultants were there, and it was really just for an opportunity to open it up round the table. Just to kind of keep things going, I had a list of things I wanted to make sure were covered, but in the event, these things came out naturally. So the three focus groups, the first focus group was really about sort of roads and transportation. So we had our own roads colleagues there, we had SPT there as well, and it was really just kind of trying to get to grips with what the issues were surrounding the roads issues for the site. The second focus group looked at the sort of conservation and heritage and the green network issues. So we had pulled together people from SNH, the Glasgow and Clyde Valley Green Network, our own green space officer. So that was really useful, just getting different people's ideas on how they felt that the site could move forward. And then the third focus group was looking at more sort of technical issues, so looking at the contamination, the flooding, and we had SEPA, we had environmental health, we had someone from the safeguarding team, and again, that was very useful to do that. What we had coming out of the meeting, someone took notes, and we were then able to send those notes round to all who participated, just to make sure that we had captured everything that was important at the time. So we've had some quite positive feedback about it. Unless you've got binoculars, I don't think you'll be able to read that, so I'll just read out what it says. So we asked SNH for their feedback, just to see, is this something that we want to, to run again, because it is quite, time intensive. So SNH said, SNH are keen to engage with developers and local authorities in an open, positive way from the earliest stages in the planning process. We have found the Queen's Quay pre-application event very useful, as it gave us the chance to highlight lightly natural heritage issues, as well as mitigation and enhancement opportunities from the outset. We hope that this ultimately assists developers in making key decisions on how to take their proposal forward. We also asked the developers' agents whether they thought it was a useful event to be involved in, and this is what they've said. The site, this is the short version, the site extends to 24 hectares, and there are a number of consultants working on varying disciplines to bring this scheme together. Therefore, it was key that from the outset, the project team in West Dunbartonshire Council worked collaboratively to clarify expectations from all involved. A key part of this was the stakeholder meeting, which invited all key stakeholders to provide initial feedback on the master plan and the key issues. The attendee list was well prepared by WDC, and the sessions were well attended. The time given to each session was adequate and allowed the key issues to be discussed and expectations made clear. The event worked well, and the feedback from our client was that they found it very useful. So, thinking if this is maybe something that you might want to translate over to your organisation, I've just identified some of the things that I thought were positives from it. From a time management perspective, the time spent setting up an event like that does actually save time in speaking to consultees individually. There's really something to be said for having environmental health and SEPA sitting at the same table and just trying to sort out what the issues are and how they might be resolved. It allows multidisciplinary issues to be discussed with all the stakeholders present. By the application stage, consultees are already familiar with the proposal. It's not new to them, and therefore our experience is it's taking less time for them to give us a response. So there's fewer unknown issues identified at a later stage. It doesn't completely dispel, there's always something that will come up just before you're writing that committee report, but it does narrow down and reduce the number of issues that are identified later on. And it does allow for a quicker decision. This particular one, there was a committee decision made within 5 months of the submission, which was what our target date was. So, as I say, any questions? If you want to come to my table, I will provide you with the warts and all of how the whole process works. So thank you for that.